how's it going, fellow Kryptonians? Welcome back to a brand new Superman and Lois episode 11 of season 2 recap, review, and breakdown. I do want to apologize that for the second week in a row we're a little bit late to this review. That really doesn't happen often on this channel, so just know that it shouldn't be happening again. But what an episode! Crazy things have happened this episode, and it was really ramping up to something that felt like was only a matter of time with regards to telling the secret to someone. And I didn't know who that would necessarily be first, and I'm definitely intrigued as to what this will mean for other people possibly learning the secret as of that very ending moment. But I would love to know your thoughts, as always, everyone. Down in the comments below, let me know your thoughts and my thoughts as we go throughout this review. And of course, any theories as to what you think can be coming over the next few episodes. But picking up right at the beginning of this episode, we more or less picked up right where we left off at the end of last episode. We had Jordan try and go in and, you know, protect his brother, but he got completely slapped, and they started merging Jonathan and Inverse Jonathan. Now, we knew, obviously, nothing would be happening at this moment. Clark was luckily, as of the end of episode 10, on his way home anyway, and he managed to stop Jonathan in this moment. Now, in this moment, I don't know if this could be a big issue for people. Likely not, but I just noticed that Superman could have gone after Jonathan, but Lois kind of just said Clark, and, you know, he just kind of stayed there. Obviously, it's probably because, hey, let's double check that Jonathan's okay. But I do feel like he could have maybe have done a quick scan. Just like, okay, right, seem fine, go. But obviously, for the sake of plot, Jonathan, Inverse Jonathan that is, needed to get away. Now, in the meantime, Clark catches up with the Kent family, says that Ali is merged. The pendant gave her a lot of power. She's basically in God mode now, and I'm definitely looking forward to that, just in terms of what they're gonna show with her, like what a merged person really looks like. We only got a tease of that merging, where she was just like Pokemon evolution, like dun, 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 and like she was just like, ah. But yeah, I still stand by what I said last week with regards to this main villain, if you will, Ali Alston. We know she has the belief of that this completes you, this, that, and the other, but I don't think we've got nearly enough exploration as to why she's so diehard about this. I know they went into her past, not to repeat myself too much from my last video, with how obviously she inherited that, her brother warned her saying, no, just ditch this, we don't need it, kind of thing. For our family, it's a curse and whatnot. Like, still, it's just, it does seem kind of tropey villain. I want to be powerful. Oh, I'm going to force everyone to, you know, believe. Why, though? Why? I need some more substance here, but hopefully they get into that over the next few episodes. Again, I'm not ignoring that we have the surface level reasons that they gave her with her kind of culty, hey, you know, connect with your other self stuff, but there's, like, what really got her to this point? I thought it was sweet how Clark and Jonathan somewhat reconciled towards the beginning, saying, I know it's been rough between us, none of that matters, you're my son. But I also like how they showed in this episode, I both liked and somewhat a little bit disliked it, showed the frustration of Jonathan. And I say I liked it because it shows the potential he has for, granted he won't go from A to B to Z like the other Inverse Jonathan has straight away through just having some disagreements here and there throughout this episode, but it does show the potential that he, you know, in this other universe, clearly both were at a certain point and they can go down that same road, and I think that's fair enough. But they kept bringing up some things with the parts that I didn't like so much, that was struggling, I was struggling to believe with the whole secret thing. They kept hammering that in, and I know the message of what they were trying to get out, and ultimately I think I like it. Hey, you can maybe be a bit more trusting of the secret with those that you want to trust. For example, the very ending of the episode, such as Lana. I do think the parents are right, like Lois and Clark, when it comes to telling a teenager. It is a bit risky. I mean, for crying out loud, it took 2 decades or so for Lana to find out. Granted that maybe it could have happened earlier if Clark had this revelation sooner, that they shouldn't be so tight-knit with the secret. But I don't know. I don't feel like they nailed the hammer on the head, especially when it came to Jonathan really projecting out his frustrations about, oh, you know, just protecting our secret. Yeah, the secret that's kept his family safe. You know that line later on where he's like, yeah, you've got to keep that precious secret so you can live a normal life. And how he mentions how it's literally the whole reason that Lana was in danger. And it's like, well, technically you're not wrong, but why are you pretending? And I know he's a teenager, maybe you could put it down to that, but I do feel like, I think the re-emphasis and regurgitation of it is what felt a little bit unbelievable. I just felt as though at times it looked like Jonathan just didn't really ever understand why his dad wanted to keep his identity secret. It was just like, yeah? For the sake of just kind of fueling those tense scenes and the arguments between the parents and the kids. Again, I'm not disregarding it entirely. Please don't think that I'm literally not understanding that Jonathan is a teenager. There is some legitimacy to what he says, like maybe you can trust Lana and things like that. And if you did, she wouldn't be in danger because you could have just gone over to the inverse Jonathan when in Main Street and stopped him from getting away and bits and bobs like that. But again, bottom line for me, it came across in several other ways where it just kept coming out as if like he never understood why this was a secret in the first place. It's like, come on, like clearly, if we lived like we did, as Clark mentioned, on the Bizarro world, the Fame, and he's just like, yeah, well, maybe that's not so bad. It doesn't seem that bad because at least they have powers. Maybe then you would actually listen to me. And it's that, like, if I just hone in on it, it's things like that. But maybe I'm just getting a bit too critical about an offhand comment from that other teenage character. I don't know. Because sometimes we say stupid things like that. One thing I really, really enjoyed about this episode, like half or up to halfway through, until it kind of became obvious where it might be going, is that Jonathan, inverse Jonathan, was going around Smallville. I loved the little Bizarro kind of ramp-up music to this. You know, the moment, as we've already briefly been over, when Lana went in front of Clark, the tense aspect of it. And it's just like, well, this Jonathan, he's literally in Smallville. Anyone could recognize him. This is so dodgy. And I don't always get mega engrossed in episodes, and it kind of takes, you know, something to get me in it. It's like, oh crap, you know, what could be going on? Because sometimes you feel like, oh yeah, you know where this is going, you know where that's going, and this is the first time in a little while where I was like, crap, like what are they actually going to do with this inverse Jonathan? And if people see him, because he doesn't care about the secret at all. Granted, if I'm being really as objective as I can be, I do feel like that somewhat hurt the episode a little bit as well later on. For example, when we had the inverse Jonathan talking to Lana, and he was kind of like dancing around slightly what was going on. It's just like, they aren't my parents, those people. And it's just like, it's as though it was being written that, and it was being written this way, that they didn't want the character to reveal that, oh, Clark is Superman, those aren't my parents, when he could have and probably would have told her, by the way, look, I'm not from this world. Like, I'm Clark Kent's son. Clark Kent is Superman. La-di-da-da. Like, clearly, inverse Jonathan doesn't give a crap about maintaining that secret, yet the dialogue and exchange we had between Lana in that scene, for example, was very carefully done, yet still approaching that same subject. But I was just thinking, why aren't you just telling her? But again, I knew why, because it was one of those things where it's just like, well, they don't want to do that, so they're going to have to be really careful about what they can say about a character who would say that, but isn't going to because we're not going to let him. Do you see what I'm trying to say there? And it's the same thing with that interaction with Sarah a little bit later on, if you know what I mean. While I really enjoyed it, he was being very candid. They make it very clear that this character doesn't care about maintaining the secrets on this earth. He was like, yeah, you know, I didn't see you when I was reversing. Yeah, it's because I just landed and things like that. And how when she was driving away, she was looking at him in the wing mirror the whole time. And I was thinking, how lucky and convenient is it that he didn't take off when she was driving away and looking in the wing mirror the whole time? Like, he would have, but like, he's not trying to keep the secret, but they don't kind of do it, if you know what I mean, to kind of maintain the somewhat anonymity, despite the ironic aspect that the secret does actually get revealed at the end of the episode to someone. So again, call that nitpicky if you want. I just do find some things that they're playing with here, as awesome as I find them, a little bit like, oh yeah, but the more you approach it, the more you kind of have to make the antagonistic character just not come out and say things that he probably just would say or do, like taking off and things like that. Again, this episode was heavily about secret, secret, secret. You know, the debate of should we, shouldn't we kind of thing. Lois takes Jordan's phone because he's texting Sarah quite a lot. She gets kind of frustrated that when she eventually texts back, he doesn't text back, it's radio silence, but at the same time, he doesn't have his phone because Lois took it. He wrote a letter because Lois suggested maybe that could help really articulate the feelings when you see it down on paper like that. And I really knew from this moment, I'm sure a lot of us did, that he would have included the secret in that letter, especially when you got that scene later on between Jonathan and Jordan about, well, you really gotta give this letter to her, and it just cuts away, and it's like, okay, well, we know where this is going, which is still a larger question that I want to get to a little bit later. Like, so now Lana knows. Does this mean Sarah's gonna know? Is there still gonna be some, despite the transparency of the secret at the end of this episode? It's one rule for Clark now to tell people, but another for Jordan. It's a tricky situation, because I understand why still, even after telling Lana, Clark might not want Jordan to tell his teenage girlfriend. There's one thing telling, like, Lana, who's a grown-ass adult, who's known Clark for years, and then a relationship that is currently going awry. Again, I'm not saying Sarah's a dick who would just be like, hey, yeah, my ex-boyfriend is Superman's son or anything like that, but it's just going to be interesting to see how that dynamic continues with, but do you really want to trust her? Just, who knows what can happen? And I think another thing that's being forgotten about a little bit with this secret thing, it's not just about keeping the lives out of Superman's shadow, and that's true, you know, the press and everything that will come with that, but also Superman's secret is kept due to keeping those people who know or could know out of danger, you know, like they would be potentially a target if it was ever known that they knew or, like, were involved in situations with Superman. I mean, look at how many times Lois Lane has been in danger. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see what happens with regards to Sarah finding out. But I would like to see that explored regardless. It'd make it a lot easier for Jordan and Sarah to navigate things. Like, and it would be like, you know, to be fair, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Like a mini Lois Lane and Clark Kent relationship. I mean, obviously not directly there, but what I mean is, hey, younger Clark, Jordan, you know, younger girl, Lois, Sarah, knowing his secret when he needs to go away and do a Superboy thing. She might be cool with it. Do you know what I mean? That could be cool to explore in a younger dynamic. But this is where everything ramps up in the episode, and again, you guys know I love this, I always rave about it, when Superman and Lois cuts between several things going on between several different characters. Like, you cut to Natalie and John, who are now still trying to develop a disruptor that they need more energy for. And then that cuts to, you know, what's going on with, you know, Jonathan and Lana after the kidnapping, and then things are ramping up there, and how Superman arrives and the kryptonite gets in him with him shielding Lana. It's just like bit after bit. Jonathan then arrives to the Kent farm and crap goes down with him and Jordan. It's just like bit after bit after bit. The music, the score really, really aids these moments to bring you and draw you into it even more. I also want to mention as well, and one of you was right about this, I think, in a live stream, that John Henry Irons and Natalie mentioned in the XK caves about this middle zone, a negative zone, completely devoid of time and space. And Natalie said it sounds just like the place that she was in before she, you know, the AI located his suit. Again, I still don't get how if you're in a place devoid of time and space, how you can get a signal out to locate a suit. Don't ask questions. Now, I don't know how to feel about this bit with Natalie and John Henry Irons because, again, you know, just to try and be as objective as I can here, I know that Lana was being weakened by the XK in the caves. However, you know, the amount of smashing left to right that you literally see John Henry Irons' freaking head smash against the different walls of the cave, and it's just like, how is he not in a coma? And they're both back at the workshop afterwards, fairly okay, you know. I don't know, I wasn't a huge fan of these moments, but this still, it feels like it's ramping up Natalie when they are eventually back at the workshop. I feel like she was looking at her own suit there, you know, because she kept really wanting to help out, you know, us together, we protect each other. And we had John Henry Irons like, no, I've got this. Kept being adamant about that, but Natalie's like, Dad, no. And she then went to the AI and was just like, bring up this project. And so is she developing her own suit there? Let me know down in the comments below if you think that is what that was, or was that the Disruptor project? It feels like to me she's been prepping her own thing because she wants to take matters into her own hands, especially after her dad being vulnerable, being in a coma before, and also the trauma of knowing that things can get to a point of where your Earth and universe gets obliterated, and not wanting that to happen again. Now, I really enjoyed the Superboy versus Superboy fight, if you will. I did get a little bit frustrated at one point, but then they turned it around, and where Jonathan just kept taking the punches. It was one of those things in typical movie or TV choreography where you see that person, they're just And it's just like, why aren't they defending themselves or just doing something instead of just taking the punches? But then he did. He took the punch in his hand, and then, you know, this is where things went wild. He was punching Jonathan, inverse Jonathan, into the clouds. This was really great. He in this confidence managed to fly a little bit again. I'm glad that they showed him falling, because I was thinking, oh, now he can conveniently fly after beforehand he mentioned to Jonathan, like, I flew a little bit, like he still clearly hadn't mastered it at all. And in this moment, it seemed like he had, but then they showed him panicking and falling. So I was, again, that attention to detail is important. They acknowledged it. Superman collected them both, and, you know, we have good old Jordan saying, this is for my brother, and then out cold is Jonathan. And lastly, we had the moment where Lana found out that Clark was Superman. I was really, this was one of those moments where it is one of those comic book things. Like, there is a suspension of disbelief at the end of the day, because you can't really critique this, like I've seen some comments do, hard, when that's always been the case with Superman. It just has always been the case. He takes his glasses off. It is funny, because it's like, you know, shocked Pikachu face. You're Superman kind of thing. Even though, to be fair, they waited until he floated for Lana to really put that together. But yeah, it's just one of those things. So I can try and be engrossed, because I always just realize that's one of the cheesy things about the character. And I did still find it a beautiful moment, because I really like the actor behind Lana on this. You know, I know a lot of people don't care for the Cushing stuff, but I think it's just like, for where the story's at, decades into their friendship, I think they mirror it really well. For example, when Superman was saying goodbye to Lana, I thought it was really sweet. She's like, oh, you do want to come in and stuff? And it's like, she has no idea that the person she was helping take the shards out of, you know, the chest of kryptonite was her best friend Clark. And then we get this moment. It's just, you know, turning the tree to a beautiful kind of like icicle kind of situation. It was just whimsically nice in a comic booky Superman. It just felt like a nice Superman moment, as cheesy as it was at the same time. I trust a lot of you will know what I mean by that. But judging by the promo, it seems like she has some kind of issue with that. So it's like this episode ends like in a, you know, kind of astonishing way. It's like in awe of her friend Clark Superman. But then the promo's like, you know, you're seeing it on screen right now. I'll play it anyway so you guys can get a teaser for the next episode.
You've been keeping this huge secret from me.
Lana, I'm sorry.
Clark being Superman is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more you need to know.
They have no one left over there to protect them. They're gonna need our help.
Can't save everybody.
Well, I have to try.
Superman and Lois, new episodes Tuesday, May 31st.
So it looks like Lana is going to be learning about other things. Yeah, there's another version of you who's super powered up. We still don't have an explanation for that. I want to know how the Lana of the Inverse world got Kryptonian powers. Was it like what I mentioned last episode with Tal-Rho powering her up with the Eradicator kind of thing on that Earth as well? I don't know. And it looks like my boy Tal-Rho is coming back as well. They might get that kind of desperate where they really need his backup. And it's kind of true. Like, when you only have Superboy, who isn't really experienced Jordan, and Superman, and there isn't really any other super-powered I mean, technically there are other heroes, but there's another person, your brother, who does, I guess, seem to be very early on the path of redemption, very slowly, because of what was teased before. You know, one day maybe you can tell him yourself when he was talking about telling Clark to apologize to Jordan. Might get his back up. That will add for an interesting spin. Plus, it's another Kryptonian, so that's going to take quite a bit to sign off the DoD and releasing him. We're going to have to wait and see. But let me know your thoughts on this episode down in the comments below. Let me know any theories you have. Next week's review should be up on time. Again, it's just due to like the extra videos that I didn't expect. Like, I really wanted to do that Kenobi trailer breakdown when it came out. It's important for me to try and jump on that when I can. And then Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I went and saw that, so that disrupted the video coming out yesterday. But also do check that video out. It's a spoiler-free review. Do not worry about any spoilers. I would love your thoughts on the Multiverse of Madness in that comment section as well, but do be careful of spoiling it for others. But like the video if you did enjoy it, guys. Links, as always, are in the description down below. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow Kryptonians in the next video. Goodbye.